Welcome, my beautiful, beautiful people, to Mountain Motorsports in Roswell, and today, the CBR 500R is getting a first ride. I didn't even know this sexy thing existed before like a week ago. I'm about to ride this thing. Alright guys, so today we have the Honda CBR 500R. Now, that's a giant kill switch. These kill switches these days are giant, guys. Now, before like about 2 weeks ago, I didn't even know this bike existed. I was in the dealership, you know, doing what I do, looking at bikes, seeing what they got so I can first ride stuff for you guys. And ooh, that's impressive. And I saw this CBR 500 and I was like, that sound is not bad. Now, I saw this CBR 500 and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen that bike before, and I love the front end of this bike. It looks fantastic. And I'm like, what is that? Is that like a new bike or something? They're like, yeah, CBR 500R. And I'm like, so Honda stopped making 600s and they're making 500s now? Alright, sounds good to me. Oh snap, look at this. I am excited for this bike, man. So, you guys know I love the look of my R6. This bike is easily in now the top probably 10 bikes I like as far as looks go. And to be honest, I don't know anything about the engine. I didn't want to do any research. I want to come into this with an entirely fresh mind. So we'll see how this bike stacks up to a first ride. I'm pretty low to the ground. You guys can see my legs are bent. I can flat foot the ground very easily. The seat is on a 1 to 10. It's probably like a 6. It's not a bad seat, but it's got this weird shape. Oh, that's the horn. Yeah, the seat has this weird shape to it. I'm not a huge fan of it. That mirror, I thought I did a good job with moving it, and I didn't. I will say I'm pretty impressed with the mirrors. They're a little far out, but you know what? They do a really good job. This bike has got some bite. I am impressed. I'm digging this. I'm very upright. I'm kind of a Ninja 650 body position where I'm upright but slightly forward. My arms are very comfortable. Wow, that was an aggressive move, Mr. Black SUV. The bike kind of has this smooth back and forth to it. It's not really like, it doesn't dip in really quickly, but everything's kind of smooth. It feels really good. Engine braking super smooth. Even the revving up and getting going it's very linear. There's nothing really hard about this bike other than the nose of it. The nose is super sharp. It comes into this point. It looks really cool. The lights, they got this like blue HID tint to them. I really am not digging the seat though. I can't figure out, you know, a lot of seats might be uncomfortable until you figure out how to sit on them. I can't figure out how to sit on this bike. The brakes are iffy at best. That sucks. I saw the little Nissan brakes in the front. Maybe they just have to be worn in a little bit, but I mean, I grabbed a good bit of front brake and I just did not come to a quick stop. I'm digging the sound. Can you guys hear it? It sounds like it's got a lot of meat on its bones. Look at all this faux carbon fiber. I think the first time I saw that was on a Gixxer 600. It gives you this feeling that your bike is made out of better material than it actually is, which that's cool. If you have an Aero, you focus on driving and you won't have this problem. Yeah, that faux carbon fiber gives you this feeling of like, oh snap, I got a bike with carbon fiber on it. And then, you know, everybody knows it's not, but you know what, power to you for trying. The pegs on this thing are really big too. My entire foot can fit on the pegs. The seating position feels really good. I like how my legs fit into the gas tank. I'm 5'10", so I think I fit on this bike really well, or how it's intended at least. Shifting feels solid. You know, you can feel that hit when you shift. The bike doesn't feel really good when you rev it up high, though. I will say that it doesn't sound good. You know, some bikes sound really good when you rev them up. This bike sounds like, ooh, don't do that. Stay slightly lower in the revs. I really like how well shifting gear sounds. It might sound like a stupid thing, but you know, some bikes are real squishy with the gear changes, but this bike doesn't seem to have that problem. You really know when you've shifted gears. Alrighty, so let's check out this little CBR 500R on the highway. These big mirrors are really helping getting on the highway. Holy crap, I can see a ton of stuff behind me. There's a lot of air on my helmet, much more than I would expect. Can I be in this lane? Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a lot more air on my helmet than I kind of expected to have. I'm sure if you tuck in, it's totally gone, but there's a lot. And granted, it's a really windy day, but there still shouldn't be this much air on the helmet of a super sport or a sport bike. I've got my butt all the way in the back of the seat, touching the passenger seat, and I've kind of tucked in just a little bit. I haven't like hardcore tucked in, but the bike feels really well right now. Like the way my legs are holding on to it. The wind, if you're not tucked in all the way, the wind is rough. I would expect this thing to be so much better on the highway. That being said, engine-wise, you've got plenty to work with on the highway. You've got plenty engine to get you around, especially to keep up with traffic, and you know, if you're like me, like to keep just a little bit ahead of traffic while you're on the highway, because people can't drive well. Bike feels good, leaned over. It takes a little bit more energy to lean over than I would expect, but feels fine. Okay. Gosh, the brakes weren't ready. So far, I'm not really feeling the brakes. I don't like the way they feel. I'm impressed with the down low power of this thing. That's awesome. I just gave it some gas back there and it just shot off. It's not like your typical 600 where all your power is going to be up top. This feels much closer to like a 650, like a twin cylinder bike. The power is definitely lower in the revs, and then it tapers off as the higher you go. And that's definitely what like the 650 class bikes, like the SV 650, Ninja 650, that's kind of the feeling you're going to get on those bikes. This thing is fun to ride around. I'm noticing the not only is the throttle linear, but also everything is just kind of squishy. There's no real like hard edges of this bike. The brakes, they progressively get stronger and stronger, but they do take time. The engine, it gets stronger and stronger. It does take time. This is the sketch move. Nothing happens really quickly on this bike, but I'm kind of okay with that. It fits in as a really good package. Everything kind of, I guess what I'm saying is everything works well together. Like typically you want really strong brakes, but it feels okay not having them in this bike. And you can still ride it relatively aggressively and have a good time with it. Even the engine braking is, you know, it's there, but it's not overpowering. There's one thing about Honda bikes that I've noticed is what Honda bikes lack in like character, they make up in just really solid bikes as a foundation. Like, a character is something that's really hard to describe in a bike. I don't even know how to really describe it, man. And Honda bikes typically have a lack in character. What they lack in character, they make up in just solid engines and solid riding experiences. Like, is it the fastest thing on the road? Not really. Will it last forever and be a really good bike? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully that makes sense. The only thing I'm not really a fan of with this bike, and I don't feel like it kind of meets the standard that everything else comes with on the bike, is the brakes. I feel like the brakes could stand to be a little better. I don't really feel that confident in the brakes as of right now. Fun to ride though. I can't believe I had never heard of this bike before I saw it in the showroom. Like, why is this not a really popular bike? The only thing that beginners need to be careful with a bike like this is the power is down low, so giving it a lot of power from the get-go, you are going to feel like a surge of power pushing you down the road, and sometimes that can catch new riders off guard. So if you're a new rider, just kind of be careful about that. If you're looking into this CBR 500, it's a totally different riding style than like the CBR 600, because that bike, you know, you got to rev up really high. You don't have to do that with this bike. The power right there at it. But that's pretty cool, because now the CBR 1000 will be your like high revving bike, and then this will be your kind of down low, torquey, still sporty looking bike. I feel like that's a good combo. If that's what Honda's looking to do, then I approve. So guys, if you are looking into a bike like this, be careful. Like I said, the power is down low, which means if you accidentally pop your clutch when you're accelerating off, you're gonna feel a lot of power lifting that front wheel up. And not a lot of power, it's probably not gonna be crazy. You'd have to give it a ton of revs to get a really solid wheelie happening. But I mean, you know what I mean? The front wheel will come up, so just be careful with that kind of stuff. It's one of the things you have to be wary of when the power is down low on bikes. I'm surprised at how much fun I'm having with this bike, man. It's almost like it rides like a naked bike, but it has the looks of a sport bike. So it's kind of like marrying the two worlds, you know what I mean? Because you look at this bike and you would assume that the engine is a real high revving engine that you got to get revved up to really go somewhere. But then you get on it and you start riding it and you realize the engine is more of a characteristic of like a naked bike, where it's got the grunt and the power down low that slowly trickles off the higher in the revs you get. It's a really fun combo to have, because it's not sticking you. You know, a lot of people like the way a sport bike looks, but they want their bike to ride like a naked bike, you know? I think this bike is a really good marriage of both of those worlds, because, you know, you have a lot of guys that like the sport bike look, which is understandable. Like, sport bikes look fantastic in my own personal opinion, but you don't want that high revving engine that you just have to rev to hell and back to get to go anywhere. And, you know, some of those guys might not like the look of a naked bike because it doesn't have the wind resistance, and it kind of has that no fairing look, and that's just not for some people. In this bike, you get the look of that sport bike, but then you get that usability factor of a naked bike. I personally feel like naked bikes are where it's at right now. As far as 90% of the riding that most people do, naked bikes are what is going to be the best engine for what they do. Now, that doesn't match the amount of people that actually have naked bikes. Most people have sport bikes and they just ride them around, and they don't realize if they rode a naked bike, that bike would fit their riding style so much better. So I'm happy to see bikes like this that guys could jump on. They get their sport bike look, but they get the usability of that like nakedy type engine that is torquey and usable in the types of areas you're going to be riding in. Everything makes sense with this bike in that regard. If it wasn't for the crappy seat and the crappy brakes. Granted, you can probably upgrade the brakes, and you can always upgrade the seat, probably. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I know you guys saw the cinematics in the beginning, but I'm really interested to get up here and talk about the way the bike looks, because I'm a really, really big fan. Really not a big fan of where the turn signal is. I crazy well match this bike though, don't I? Freaking red. Alright, Honda CBR 500R. Look at the front of this bike, man. Honda, good job. Good freaking job on the front. This is a good looking bike, man. Just, I love the angles. I'm not a big fan of the exhaust, but I do like that it's down low. I'm sure they're gonna make some type of aftermarket, get an aftermarket like 2 Bros or something and put it right there, like a smaller one, like a shorty. I think it would look fantastic on this bike. I feel like this is a Honda thing to put big silver rear sets and passenger pegs. I would black those out hella quick. This isn't the worst I've seen. Undertail would be fantastic. Look at the tail though. Look at the freaking tail. God, Honda, such a good job. I'm okay with the bronze too. I'm okay with all the red and just have a bronze engine piece. I think it stands out, makes it look cool. Another thing that I think is great on this bike, like, you get the look of full fairing, but let's count them. You got one fairing here, like a belly pan fairing. Then you have this one main fairing here that... Is that one piece? There's no way. Holy cow. This is one fairing. It goes from here all the way up to the side piece. That is freaking awesome. The reason that's awesome is if you want to do work on the bike, you're gonna have to take the fairings off. Now, when I have to do work on my R6, I have to take off like 15 fairing pieces. This bike, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got the entire engine open. That's pretty cool, man. Now, to me, that's one of the big downsides of super sports is the fairings get in the way. They make the bike look great, but if you want to do anything, it's a pain. I don't really feel like that with this bike. The bike has an R3 feel, doesn't it? It has like that really thin front and that really tapered in rear. Maybe that's the kind of look they're going for. The tires don't look as thin as they felt. Look how tiny this brake caliper is. I like the kind of matte wheels though. I'm kind of digging that. These things suck though. Definitely need better brakes. Rear wheel has that same like kind of look. I'm digging it. And check the seat out. It's got the whole like vents, kind of like R1-ish. Like the R1 has like little flaps that open up. This seat is much less like the R1, but it still has that kind of look of open airflow through the back. It's pretty neat, man. Oh, I dig this bike. I dig it way too much. I guess so. Let's take a listen to the bike. And before we do, I gotta tell you guys, I always make a blog post for every first ride that I do over on Chaseontwowheels.com. So go click over there. I do some high definition photos. I get you a actual microphone out and I record the exhaust of the bike. So if you're interested in seeing more pictures or hearing the bike better, Chaseontwowheels.com. There'll be a link in the description. Check it out. But we're gonna take a listen. I literally just nailed that with my leg. We're gonna take a listen to this bike after I put it in neutral. Alright. 2016 Honda CBR 500R. Ooh, I like the wheel. Yeah, it's got that twin cylinder sound, man. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. Oh, all right, so let's check the lights out. Look at the front of the bike. Oh my god, yes! Also, please take these off. Look, Honda is so nice. They gave you the cutout for turn signals that are inside of there. Honda, you're so nice to people. It's like all the benefits of a sport bike, but you get the naked engine. Oh man. You know, being upright makes it much more maneuverable in small speed areas too, because you're sitting more upright and the handlebars are pretty high up. You're not bent over, but it makes it really easy to kind of maneuver around parking lots and stuff like that. You know, it doesn't make it as confidence inspiring when you're going quick, but when you're in turns like this or when you're in areas like this, it makes it no problem to drive around. Alright, so what I was talking about with the throttle, you got to be careful. If you're in first, You see what I'm saying? You see how much power the bike has from the get-go? So if you're new, be careful. If you're not new, then enjoy the wheelies. The bike is also really light. When I came to a stop, I was kind of angled over more and the bike just tipped a little bit. But the bike is not heavy at all. I'm able to easily control it with my legs with very little problem. And the bike is low to the ground, so I have a lot of clearance with my legs. Clearance. Man, who knew all of this was sitting in the CBR 500R package? I haven't even heard anybody talk about this bike, and I don't know why. We can talk about the gauge for a second. It gives you what you need. Actually, you have a fuel gauge on there as well. It tells you the information you have to have, and it presents it in a nice manner. You know, you got the speed, you got the tack around the speed, and then you got the gas gauge. There's not really much else you need. You got a clock, you got the mileage and stuff. It works, man. I am honestly really surprised in this bike, and I'm even more surprised that I haven't been hearing people talk about it. This bike is awesome. Alright guys, so what do I think about the 2016 Honda CBR 500R? I think this might be one of the best beginner bikes I've seen. I think I'm officially putting this over the R3 because of how smooth everything is on the bike. It makes it's easy to ride and have a really good time, and with that 500cc engine, you're not going to have the typical problem with a 300 that everybody talks about where they outgrow it. You're not going to outgrow a 500 as fast, obviously, as a 300. You get that sport bike look. You get a great look. The bike looks fantastic. And then you get the usable engine of the the parallel twins that have the low down torque. Like, it's an amazing package. This bike is freaking awesome. Beginners, check. Like, intermediate riders that want to just like have a really good bike to go around town but have a sport bikey look, check. Like, this thing is awesome. This is what you guys need to be checking out. The main problems I see with this bike is the brakes and the character. And I'm not talking about the looks. I'm talking about the way the bike feels. It feels like kind of manila, but I'm having an amazing time on it, so there's definitely that. So yeah, I'm definitely recommending this bike for the beginner rider that wants a bike that they're going to be able to hold on to for a much longer time. I'm definitely saying if you're an intermediate rider, you can handle this bike easily, and it will wheelie very easily, so you have plenty of stuff to have fun with. Has plenty of engine to go on longer rides, go up on technical roads. It's just a really solid bike. If you are going to take it on technical roads like the intermediate rider, I would definitely recommend you doing something with the brakes and upgrading it there. But otherwise, man, this is a fantastic package. I really like this bike. I'm really impressed. And guys, that's about all I've got to say for the CBR 500R. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to let me know by hitting the like button. And if you didn't like the video, let me know in the comments so that I can make this content better for you guys. Massive shout out to Mountain Motorsports of Roswell for letting me borrow the bike, and let me borrow all the bikes. They let me ride these bikes so that I can ride them around and let you guys know my first ride experiences with the bikes, so that can help you guys decide which bikes you should go try to first ride and see what you think about them so you can make an informed buying decision. I appreciate you guys spending some time with me, and I'll see you on the next video. Later. If you're at this point in the video, you've seen the entire thing, you guys need to go check this bike out. Even if you've got a bike and you're not looking for one, go check this bike out just so you know what's out there. This is awesome. This is much more usable than my freaking R6. Like, it makes me sad the amount of bikes new riders have these days. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Later.